It is officially 2026, and although many of you may be incredibly hyped for all of the brand new releases coming our way over the next year, December had quite a few games that did pop up out of nowhere, which are definitely worth your attention. Today, I actually wanted to highlight 12 incredible games you may have missed, as I did with November, as there were so many solid shadow drops and some insane hidden gems. We have a wide variety of genres as well today, but do let me know what your favourite is in the comments below. With that though, let's just dive right into it and see what games you may have missed from this December. Sleep Awake was a brand new psychedelic first-person horror game that arrived from Blumhouse Games. This one actually delved deeper into the terrifying space between sleep and death, and I won't lie, I may have watched this one from a few YouTubers out there, and it scared the bloody hell out of me. In this one, you play as Katya, trapped in the last city on Earth where falling asleep means vanishing into what they call the hush. As insomnia drives people into panic and twisted death cults do rise, you'll have to stay awake, solve reality-bending puzzles, and survive unsettling encounters in a world collapsing into surreal madness. The reviews for this one so far have actually been incredibly positive across the board, and many do mention that this is probably one of the weirdest and trippiest games that they've played in quite some while. It is also priced pretty well and is a great little indie that dropped onto Xbox this December. One game that is kind of hitting another round of negativity at this moment in time is Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and it really is quite a shame because the game is actually pretty decent since the devs rebooted this one. I will state that the negativity though is surrounding the low player counts over on Steam specifically, but I'm not really that surprised as so many out there have kind of forgotten about this franchise since the disastrous launch of Splitgate 2. The Arena Reloaded relaunch is ultimately successful at making this game better than both the original Splitgate and the initial version of Splitgate 2, which was honestly terrible, and it is instantly obvious that this is something I have much more desire to return to if it really does stick around. This sticks much closer to the early Halo influences, it also improves the gunplay, lengthens the TTK, removes classes, and so much more. Again, I do actually hope this one gets way more attention, as it's actually a fairly decent free shooter on our Xbox consoles. One of the most welcome and largest shadow drops though of the entirety of December was for Divinity Original Sin 2, the definitive edition, and although you think many would not have missed this, the marketing was actually pretty minimal to the mainstream media. The biggest improvement this upgrade brought with it though is the 60 FPS gameplay, which makes the action and also the exploration far smoother on the latest consoles. I also noticed personally that the Xbox Series X version is significantly smaller than the backwards compatible Xbox One X version, so you'll definitely save a bit of space on your SSD with this upgrade as well. That's basically it on this one, because there was no new addition to the gameplay or even any added DLC, so if you wanted to dive into this for the very first time, then definitely put it on your radar. After such a long time over on both PlayStation and PC with some relatively positive reviews, Solis finally made its debut on Xbox, and from speaking to many Xbox players via our own Discord server and online, it does seem as though this port is pretty great across both consoles and plays very well. Solis is a game that is set in the future, when things inevitably go wrong on the Red Planet, and it's basically up to a duo of engineers to work out exactly what has really happened. I don't want to spoil anything for the story for you, but the writing is very good. I personally really enjoyed this narrative, which felt like a very small, intimate story set within a big environment, remaining engaging and also compelling throughout. It also wears its horror trappings pretty well, but it doesn't necessarily go where you'll think it might be going, and that's where the intriguing part really does happen. Again, it does play well on both of the Xbox Series consoles, and I will highly recommend it to all today. I've never been a Five Nights fan, but I do know this franchise has a massive cult following, hence the films, merch and so much more, and honestly, I really don't understand why it's so popular. Well, another game though that was on PC and PlayStation a few months back now finally arrived onto Xbox, and you can now play Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic for yourselves. This one is actually developed by the same team behind a whole bunch of other Five Nights at Freddy's titles, including the latest being Security Breach. I have actually delved a little bit deeper into this one for this video, and it does seem that Five Nights at Freddy's Secrets of the Mimic has a very positive rating over on Steam, and also some pretty great reviews on Metacritic as well from both critics and players alike. A lot of reviews have stated that although it is not the most challenging gameplay wise, it is quite fun and delves deeper into a more spooky sort of vibe. Still, if this one does interest you, it is out now and it does look pretty frightening. You probably all know by now, but I will always shout out about Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, and this game easily sits as one of my favourite RPGs of the past decade. The team over at Awakened Realms did a fantastic job of providing this game that not only delves deeper into some fascinating lore surrounding King Arthur, but also brought us essentially a Skyrim-like experience but with Dark Souls inspired combat. Well, one large and first bit of DLC finally landed for the game, and it's called Sanctuary of Sarras, and it's actually been going down a storm with fans of this game. This expansion feels adequately priced as well and contains precisely the kind of content I kind of expect within Act 3, if it was any good of course. Realistically speaking, the content reminds me of the first act, so you get a worthwhile amount of content right out the gate. I'm still actually playing through it now, but I do highly recommend it, and you can check it out if you can. One of the games that really didn't get mentioned in my weekly game release video back in December was for Taxi Chaos 2, and that's simply because it suddenly arrived on the Xbox store as a shadow drop. This is obviously a sequel to the original Taxi Chaos, which at the time felt like a straight clone of Sega's Crazy Taxi series in many ways, albeit with quite a lot of drawbacks compared to the Sega classic. Well, Taxi Chaos 2 is actually quite different to that original game though, as it's inspired by classic arcade taxi driving with a modern twist. The main twist is that the city is now ruled by autonomous taxi bots, and every shift is a race against traffic, time, and the ruthless AI rivals. I'm still a little bit mixed personally on this one, but from a couple of reviews out there, it does seem like quite a fun time. I haven't personally played it, but if you are interested, it is of course available on your Xbox consoles right now. If you are enjoying this video so far though, please do hit that subscribe button down below, as I will be uploading Xbox content like this on a daily basis. Over 66% of you are currently not subscribed, and I would just love for you to join our growing Xbox community. Thanks again for your support so far, and let's dive back into the remaining games you may have missed in December 2025. Another little shadow drop was for Ultimate Sheep Racoon, and this actually became available day one on Xbox Game Pass. If you're unfamiliar, this is primarily a party game that is a kind of interesting take on something like Trials Rising. You and up to 4 players race to get to the finish line as quickly as possible, and you can then put down obstacles, boosts, and other elements to basically gain the advantage against your competitors. It is a very unique premise though I can confirm it can be a little bit more frustrating than the dev's first game known as Ultimate Chicken Horse. This is ideal as a couch co-op experience though, but I reckon some without any sort of gaming knowledge or practice may get a little annoyed like my partner did when we played this game on Christmas Eve. I still do recommend giving it a go, especially with your Xbox Game Pass subscription. Another Xbox console drop which did arrive and seemingly got a pretty low player count due to the lack of marketing was Terminull Brigade. You may remember this is the third-person roguelike which has you battling different AI enemies in arenas solo or with your friends. Throughout each of the runs, you'll be picking up and upgrading your perks granted by what they call the gods of the program, and they're called arbiters, and then take on some large towering bosses towards the end of each run as well. I have actually played this one now for about 15 to 20 hours, and I will be honest with you, it's pretty bang average. I do really like the gameplay mechanics though, and what the devs have kind of been aiming for, but I absolutely detest the gacha elements, and also the performance issues on the Xbox consoles is pretty significant to be honest. If you can see past those technical woes and the gacha predatory microtransactions, it is free and you can always try it out if you do fancy it. This next game feels like a sketch comedy that you'd kind of find on BBC 3 at 1 AM on a Thursday night, and I kind of mean that in the best way possible. Thank Goodness You're Here is definitely on the shorter side, only taking me about 2 hours or so, but it is jam-packed with loads of jokes, weird dialogue, and unique animations that I could have sworn it was more like sort of 4 to 5 hours. The gameplay itself is fairly rote and is just there to facilitate as many jokes as possible, and the structure of the game can feel aimless as you try to loop through the same sort of 4 or 5 areas over and over again. Each return visit does see the area change though, with different backdown characters, advancing jokes, or just new sub-areas for you to explore. Ultimately though, the devs have actually turned this floor into part of the big meta joke on the relentless busy work that's prolific in so many games today, so it's really hard to kind of criticize, to be honest. This is a true hidden gem on Xbox, and I'm just so glad it finally landed onto our consoles. Blood Refresh Supply has officially landed onto Xbox, but I'm still a little bit mixed about their asking price on this one, as they only actually added a little bit more content onto Blood Fresh Supply, which really didn't come out too long ago now. I will say, if you've never played the original, this is the ultimate way to jump into it though. It is a full remaster of the 1997 cult classic shooter Blood, but rebuilt with modern upgrades, so stuff like 4K support, unlocked frame rates, online and local co-op, and tons of mods and so much more. You will be put back into the boots of Caleb, the undead gunslinger, out for revenge against Chernobog and his army of monstrosities. The package overall does include the full campaign, some classic add-ons, and brand new mission called Marrow, with Death Wish finally arriving after launch. It is pretty decent, but again, for the asking price, it is a little steep, so maybe wait for a sale on this one. Were there any games that came out in December that you've been playing at the moment, or is there anything that's really taken up your time? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. Remember to like this video if you did enjoy it guys, and also also subscribe, as I will be uploading content, as I mentioned, on a daily basis. Thanks so much again, and if you do want to check out some more awesome Xbox content, why don't you check out the video on screen now. I actually covered the Xbox Store sale which is going on at the moment, which was primarily the Christmas sale, which does end in the next sort of 5 days, but there's some banging discounts you need to check out as soon as possible.